Welcome back to the Power Public YouTube channel. Today we're going to be showing you how to pull apart and reassemble, service your power valve off your Rotax Max engine. A great customer of ours asked for a video on how to do this, so we are making it this week. So let's get to it. The first step is to disassemble the power valve. Remove these two screws. Move the housing and the spring, two screws, and now you've got your power valve. It's a little sticky there, it's obviously brand new, so we're just going to crack that off, take these two M6 bolts out. So obviously this engine isn't on the cart, and it doesn't have the coil assembly on it or the exhaust in the way, so it's really easy to work on. If you're working on the cart, you'll have to remove the vacuum hose, but other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Remove the housing. It's just got some assembly lube there, and we're just checking the blade. Sometimes it comes with a little burr here. I like to remove that with a file, and then I'm just going to lube this up. And when you put that into the housing, so here, this is where some of the problems exist. You can get a little bit of a misalignment here when you're doing up your piston onto the blade. And you just want to make sure that those holes here and the threads line up perfectly. So you just look down through the holes and just line them up. And then you should be able to hold the housing and just operate the power valve. So I'm going to pull the power valve blade and piston apart to show you that first, and then we'll do a proper assembly and go from there. Okay, so remove the power valve and the housing from the engine, and then it's as simple as rolling this little spring off the bellows, grabbing your 10mm ring spanner and just undoing the blade from the piston. The problem the customer had during the week is that he screwed the stud of the power valve into the piston and did it up too tight, and it broke the top of the piston off because he was going for the power valve measurement. Now, if we just spin that back on, you do it up till it bottoms out, and just give it a tiny little tweak like that, and you can see that the orientation is slightly out, and this is when you can rotate the blade so that these holes line up perfectly with the engine. But we'll do that in a minute. The first thing I want to do is I want to measure this overall dimension, and that's what we really need to know. So this is the Evo style power valve assembly, and it measures 81.6 millimeters. Now the problem that we had was the old measurement is 73.5, so naturally you'd get this and go, oh wow, I've got to just turn this screw harder to get that measurement. Well, that's not the case. The new one is substantially longer, the housing's bigger, and that measurement is now 81.6. That's a brand new one from the factory. So there you have it. So holding the blade with your 10mm ring spanner, just undo that piston and pull the blade and stud out of the housing. This one here has got a little O-ring on it, and there's a gasket, and then you can just, that O-ring has been removed and the piston just falls out of the bellows. Then you can disassemble the bellows by pulling that off the housing, and you can see on the housing here, this new one, it has a O-ring here to seal on the shaft of the power valve blade there. That just pushes back through there, and that's the inner workings of the Rotax Max Senior power valve assembly. So what you want to do is on the sides of this blade here, there's a little bit of a casting flash. I just like to run my file over those and just take those off so that they don't rub inside the housing of the cylinder. So all you want to do is grab yourself a smooth file and just run it over the edge of that, and that just takes that little casting flash. Now when you're using the file, try not to go this way over the radius. Start with the file up and work your way down, and that way you'll keep a nice even filing profile on the side of the blade, and then just flip it over 180, and you can just take that off, little casting flash. Okay. Give that a clean up and she's ready to go. Okay, so now we have done that, I'm going to show you how to reassemble it. What I like to do is I like to lube these blades up, just a drop of oil on each one of those, and smear that around where it's going to rub on the engine. And you can also do the power valve stud, so that's sliding in the housing with a bit of lube. And then you just insert that into the engine. And you should be able to check for that has a nice smooth operation inside the cylinder. So grab your housing and slide that over the start of the power valve blade, and just grab your two little M6 cap screws and just loosely screw those in for now. So now it's time to install the bellows onto the housing, and I've got a great little trick for that. Get us a little bit of oil and just, oops, a bit too much. Just run it across the top there, because you want the bellows to slide over the oily bit but stay grippy on the bottom. And then you should be able to put now the spring's already on this one. I'm not going to pull it off because it's already on. So get your bellows, we're going to install them onto the housing, and you just, with the oil there, it should just slip on, and then you get a little T-bar and just run it around the groove, and that bellows will just slide straight on. Now you don't want to pierce it, it's only soft. You just want to sort of cruise around in there, and that pushes it down into the groove. And now just double check here, you can just pull it back and just make sure that the little spring is down and it's all 100% perfect. So now we've got this on, I'm just going to reach up and push. You can push the power valve from the inside. That just makes it easier to get your piston on. So you can just hold the blade back, spin it in reverse until it clicks on, and then do it up. Get your 10mm. Now remember, don't crank this down too tight. It's only plastic. So you nip it up until the stud bottom's out in here, and then just give it a little bit of a, and you can see there's no deformation there, so you haven't done it overly tight. Now the trick here is we've got to get this rubber up over the edge, and I've got a little trick for that. You just get your trusty Allen key. If you had a pick, that would work too. What else could you use? You could use a screwdriver. I'm going to show you how to do that as well. Okay, so I've got a little screwdriver here, and you just sort of pull that up there, and then if you just run it around under there, see, like I said, there's a little trick to it. And if you can just wiggle that on like so. Righto. But once again, be careful, it's only very soft rubber, and you don't want to damage it, otherwise you have to get a new one. Or if you did damage it and you didn't see it, it would leak and your power valve won't operate properly. So now we've got this in, I can feel that's a little bit grindy, but what I want to do first is install the last spring ring on the outside of the bellows. So to do that, there's two ways. We can do it with this tool here from Wildcard. You just slip the spring on there and oops, over the top. Put the spring on there. Load it up like so, and then it just fits on. So if you hold the blade back, you can just knock this spring straight on. That's the easiest way. But if you haven't got this tool at home, what you can do is get yourself, it's a little bit trickier here with these newer style power valves, but the older ones works pretty good. Get a couple of zip ties like that and just crank them on there like so. And then you've got yourself a couple of little finger holds. And if you just hold it on there like that, you can come around like so. And voila, spring's on. Grab your side cutters. Cut one zip tie, carefully remove it. cut the other zip tie, carefully remove that, and that bit is complete. So now the blade doesn't feel to me like it's moving 100% smooth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these two screws out, check the orientation of the blade and the housing, correct that, push the screws back in, make sure the housing's central perfect on the bolts, and then put the cover on and we're all done. Perfect. So now that we've got the power valve blade lined up with the housing and we've tightened the screws down while maintaining our smooth action on the power valve blade, the last thing we've got to do is install the spring and the cover and the two screws, and the job's all done. That's right. So there you have it, the Rotax Senior Max power valve rebuild. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. Or if you've got any questions, leave it in the comments section below. Don't forget to hit us up on Instagram and Facebook at Power Republic, or go to our website www.powerrepublic.com.au. Grab yourself a t-shirt or a Rotax Max engine. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.